could make it yours for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Put your hand in his hand. I just wait on it. I just wait on it.
Come a little closer.
He said, come closer to me. Come closer. Give me your hand and just follow me. I'm taking it.
Testing. Let's go. Y'all ready? All right.
What up?
What's up, everybody? This is Clay Burston, Antoine Spence, Bryant Martin,
The
and
living
Leroy
legend.
Diet. And this is Thugs, Thinkers, and Theologians podcast, episode 3. Let's all make some noise while we're getting ready for the show to start. Yes, sir. Glad to be in the building. And also, we got DJ Big Nick in the building. Big Nick. Nick's station is jumping off, so we thank God for them. All right.
Check it out.
And we also have a very, very special guest on today, Dr. Pastor Harrison Jamal Harrison, Brian.
That's his name up already.
Yeah. I mean, he regular Baltimore guy to us. Yeah. At the end of the day, I've seen him on stages, I've seen him on TV, I've seen him in Lexington Market. So it's all good, right? Hey, man. So I hope you guys are having a good time out there today. So we have a hot show. Our first question, gentlemen, is what is the church's role and responsibility as it relates to how we should manage or mandate during this COVID pandemic?
Well, I mean, listen, Leroy, I think this is the perfect time for you to kind of address the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man. We're just so grateful for everybody being here. Welcome to the show. It's our 3rd episode. We're excited about what's happening and how many people are joining in and calling in for questions. You can call in on today. Later on in the segment of the show, we're going to leave opportunity that we're going to call Asking for a Friend.
Yeah.
We want you to call in. And when you call in, if you don't say asking for a friend, we're going to hang up on you. We just want to have some fun today. You already heard we have a special guest. Pastor Jamal Bryant's going to be on the show with us today. We're excited about that. We're ecstatic about having this candid, critical conversation. And even in the midst of this COVID-19, this coronavirus, we're on quarantine and all those things. And each of us have a responsibility. And so I'm just thankful that all of us have a role and responsibility. And we want to address the fact that there are people that are recovering. We want to make sure that we give honor to whom honor is due, to all of our healthcare professionals, to our healthcare workers, to our essential persons, to our first responders, to all of you that are being challenged by this COVID-19, this coronavirus, this quarantine, this social distancing. We are definitely being involved in flattening the curve. And so we're asking today in our topic, if you will, or one of our topics, because we're going to have a great time today, what is the role and the responsibility of the church, if you will, or those that have been commissioned as leaders during this COVID-19, this coronavirus, as we are getting better, as we look at the statistics that are coming. And so there are stimulus checks that have gone out.
Wait a
you
minute.
got your check.
Wait
Go ahead.
a minute.
We don't mind a little donation. Hallelujah.
You don't got to pay tithes on that. You don't got to pay tithes on that
You
stimulus
got to
check.
pay tithes on every income.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you got to pay tithes
I think
on everything.
that's free money.
No, it's not. No such thing as free money. Ain't no such thing in the world as free money.
Ain't never.
Even
never
God's
been
money ain't free.
Never free
Hallelujah,
money.
God.
Even the Treasury don't make it for free.
Ain't nothing free. Yeah,
You got to
man.
be very clear. Be very clear.
All you pastors who don't file taxes are not getting a stimulus check. So all you guys, all you pastors that don't have no job,
If your bank account is negative, they snatch
you will
negative.
not get a coin if you owe child support.
Listen,
I'm talking to you, Bishop.
wait a minute. You are current on your payments.
If you current on your payments, you're going to get a stimulus check. But those of you.
And you got to pay for them children.
Oh, my God.
You ain't put on your tax.
Oh, even the ones down there. Oh, let me shut up.
that
bro.
child support going to be crazy, baby.
Thank God for deliverance.
Somebody call it.
Thank God for deliverance.
Felt the wind of correction.
Brock run from the cold wind
Oh, my
as he grabs his insulated tumbler cup.
with his energy drink.
Glory to Jesus.
He need a little stimulus himself instead of a stimulus check.
Yeah, since everybody want to joke about my diabetes, I'm drinking something that's going to assist me in my diabetes today.
Heal him, Lord.
Exactly.
Hey, Clay, I know one thing we shouldn't be doing in this COVID-19. I want to talk for 5 minutes about
It takes 5 minutes.
the plethora of doctrinal debates with the stimulus going on. If we're going to talk about what the church should be talking about, should the church only be leaning towards social activism? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Versus doctrinal debate. Should we be preaching the message of prosperity and or deliverance? When this is over, what should we be preaching? You know, because everybody's saying, well, if we had more money, if we should, the kingdom means you should own things. I heard one preacher say that the reason why this church is in panic is because we don't own nothing. Well, you can't own nothing if the people are not seeding because the people don't have to give. So everything about financial increase deals specifically with giving. So I know one thing. I'm tired of the doctrinal debates in the stimulus. I mean, in this COVID-19 thing.
I'm tired of people having an opinion on other people's money.
Yeah.
Like flat out. Like, I mean, you don't know the person's struggle. Like, that's their money. I mean, look, it's free. Well, it ain't free. We said that. But it's their money. Like, whatever. If they go buy $100 for crabs every day of the week for the next 12 days, that's their money to do what they want to do. They are in a crisis right now. Whatever makes them feel better, I don't have no opinion on how you spend your money. It's your cash.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
I totally agree. I think we're living in a very different time where people, everybody wants to be right.
Everybody want to be right.
Everybody.
You know, and because we're in the information age, and people have access to more information more quickly. It gives people a false sense of security as believes as being intelligent. People believe they're smarter than they actually are because they have access to information.
Right.
So have you noticed?
Hold on, let me say that. People are. Say it again.
That was good.
What?
People are acting smarter than they actually are.
Right. Yeah.
Just because you got to Google. Now
You can Google and everybody. Can you know?
And you really don't.
Every major subject that comes up,
You can Google.
whether it's law,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, if it's Trayvon Martin or whatever's happening just socially. That's immediately. Everybody online is, you know, has a law degree.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And we're debating things that people
Or an expert.
Right.
Or
There you go.
yeah,
Right there.
yeah.
Thank you.
Because I know I put my face over some boiling oranges leaves the other day. They told me if you put your face over boiling water and
This man
orange
buying
leaves,
anything.
Well, that's what they said. So I tried it, and I'm
So
healed.
if they tell you,
Take it easy, Antoine
if they,
Smith.
if they tell you,
Claiborne, have you ever
I'ma
done
keep
anything
that
somebody
to
told you to
myself.
do? And
I had.
have you ever submitted to a hypothetical?
I did, and
Like what?
and
Can you
and
share
they
what
were
it was?
wrong.
They were wrong.
Well, yeah. I had a blister on my finger, and my
thumb or your
coworker
finger?
told my finger.
Okay.
My finger, and my coworker told me to crack an egg, to take the skin off the egg and place it on the blister, and it would draw. Did you hear that? The I don't know. And then I heard someone say if you put Bengay on your feet
wait a minute,
and put socks on it, it'll draw your fever out.
were you trying to get your feet moist?
No, I was not.
I'm just trying to figure out what the big game was supposed to do.
No, I don't have no idea, but I think we all have, you know, false.
We all, I have. I ain't gonna see it live.
But
Before we drift away from the role and responsibility, I don't want us to drift out too far now, baby. I don't want us to drift too far.
the church has two responsibilities.
Okay.
We have a spiritual responsibility and a natural one. So, you know, and so I believe that the church is or should be governing themselves individually. Right, because even if your church is outside and you're giving out food, you are in direct. You know, you're not
You're in
really
direct
following those.
contact.
Yeah, right. Cause you know.
Right,
So
just because you got a mask and gloves on.
Because you ain't supposed to be out if you're not essential.
Absolutely. So I believe we have a dual responsibility.
Well, I believe I'm essential.
have to be very careful.
My church needs to be out in the community.
Your church is closed, Brian.
During the COVID.
Yeah.
during the COVID.
I'm not suggesting that
Your church was
that,
open Sunday.
that your church shouldn't
Drive up
be
church.
in the
have
community.
rescued my life. I saw you singing that
Yeah.
song.
Drive up church.
You
Yeah.
have
But they were
rescued.
in
You was
their
crying.
cars.
too,
Yeah, we
Cliff.
were inside our cars.
No, a
You
couple
6
people
feet
was
apart?
outside. Some people's outside walking around on the lot you own.
Yeah,
I
we
watched it.
You can have
directing
10 though.
traffic.
You
You
can
have
have
one
10.
person directing traffic.
Oh yeah, we don't have direct traffic directors at my church, so that's a different narrative.
Yeah.
We just have to get in where we fit in.
right.
Just have to be very careful
Yeah.
about following
Yeah.
the ordinances that have been magistrated to us.
Yeah.
And so we have to be very cautious in our approach.
Yeah.
And follow everything under the mandate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
still ask the people to govern themselves accordingly as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
You can't be out there with your mask and your gloves
Yeah.
and persons not correlate with you
Right.
and do what's right.
I'm also hearing that as of
Just
Friday,
for the sake of calling it
we
service
got
to the
you
Lord.
got to be out with a mask on.
Yeah.
Anne Arundel County is
to go
already
in
administered,
stores.
but now it's coming to the city on Friday. So Anne
Yeah.
Arundel County put it into motion today. You cannot go into any store. You cannot go to. You
Right.
can't be in public. Period. Pretty much, and the store won't
Right.
let you in.
Right.
So
Right.
as of Friday, y'all might as well get them N95s and all them little
Right.
masks y'all have for your motorcycles and all. Y'all
Right.
better get them because you're not gonna be able to
Right.
get in no stores without them.
Right. So, but I do believe that every church should at least reach out to their membership.
Absolutely.
Like so, at our church, what we did was we divvied up our membership amongst the leaders and gave you 10, gave you 10, gave you 10 or 5,
Right.
whatever, and
Absolutely.
then said you contact those people because my real concern with this is after this is over, are people coming back to church?
And it's going to be a challenge. And that COVID-19,
I really don't think it's going to be.
I think you're going to have.
I
a great
think it's going to be
numbers on the
influx
church.
in the beginning. It's going to be happy. First, they're going to be happy just to be out. That's going to be the excitement part. You got to remember, they're going to want to be out the house no matter what they're doing. They
Man,
tired of being in
Melba's
the
going
house.
to be packed. Ain't nobody coming to church.
See, but my
I don't
concern.
think
I'm
so.
sorry, Bishop, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
I'm simply saying that I think it's going to be dualistic. You're going to have those that will become comfortable with seeing it from a virtual perspective, and then you're going to have those that have become hungry to fellowship with humanity that are going to come to church. So what I'm saying is it's going to be some of those persons that have watched you now online that are going to come to want to see you in person.
Right.
Because you've struck something inside of them.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to be healthy on
See,
both ends. I really believe it's going to be healthy on both ends. There's going to have to be a consistency, though, that after you finish this, you're going to have to continue that virtual reality
Right.
and that online presence. You're
But
going
see,
to have to
but
keep
that's
doing
what
that.
I'm not talking
I
about
don't know.
that.
See-
Like I think that if you balance it correctly, y'all as pastors,
You cannot
if
pastor
listen what I'm saying.
anyone
We're not
online.
talking about pastoring.
You cannot
That's
be
what I'm
someone's
saying.
We're not talking about
online.
We're not talking about
pastoring
pastoring, Clay.
We're talking about
just spreading
the
God's
gospel.
word. So if you take advantage of a virtual church, you will literally have 2 churches in one. If you do
There
it correctly,
is no such thing as virtual church.
we're doing it now.
We're not.
It's not.
You're
just-
preaching
what are we doing?
sermons
Just 'cause we-
online.
Yeah, just because we're doing.
Well,
yeah,
you're
we
not
just,
pastoring
we're just preaching
anyone.
online.
Wait a
We're
minute.
not-
Preaching
we're not-
is not.
We're not
mean you have
ministering
a church.
effectively on virtual church.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me you cannot get a clear word on virtual?
You can,
You
but it's a
can,
different.
So how are you not
Yeah,
ministering effectively?
but
You just said
being
it's not
a-
effective.
Because
I think it's forced to be effective right now.
and
It's a force
and the
feed.
effectiveness
We don't have no other
of
choice.
ministry is how we serve others. Right?
You're still serving your people right
our
now to the best of your ability.
Our preaching is supposed to compel men to Christ and then equip those
You
to
can't
serve.
do that in front of a camera?
No.
Wow.
No, you can
Y'all are really going to have to
You
grow
can
up
preach
in
good
the
sermons.
virtual world. This
You can-
world will eventually go to that, and if you all get stuck in this wanting to be in people's faces all the time, y'all going to be stuck way behind the
You
eight ball.
can preach
Just being
good
honest.
sermons online, teach great Bible studies
Being
online,
honest,
but you cannot mature a person in God online.
without
I disagree.
without physically touching them. I mean, I understand your point.
There's
Spence,
not one
but you
pastor-
got to understand this though, that I certainly agree that you could not necessarily pastor a person, and there is no such thing as virtual church, if you will. That you can't call that particularly.
So
a church.
here is my question.
No, that's
If
like
they
saying
never open your-
Spence, you can have a virtual marriage.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing.
Okay,
That's not the same thing.
It's a couple-
'Cause- okay, so there are couples who don't live in the same state, but they are still married.
but they
That's a
physically
virtual relationship, and
but
they stay married.
Physically
So that's
come
a bad
to each
example.
other.
That's a bad example.
I just would like to take a poll sometime today. When we get off the phone with Jamal, some pastors come in, and I want an honest confession of pastors who are enjoying this virtual church. I think it is a stretch. I think it takes us outside of our capacity. I think it challenges us. I think it compromises the very reason why we pastor. I think pastors
dangerous.
are relational. I think we love the fellowship. and the camaraderie. And I don't believe there's one pastor. I believe there's every pastor understands it needs to be added to their ministry. Right. But I tell you, they don't like it.
No, here's my question to you guys.
The effective ministry, let me just say this real quick, and then you can say, the effective ministry of Jesus while he was in the earth was to touch people.
Yeah. Yep.
Not just spiritually,
Jesus wasn't here with
but
the
to
corona.
touch them.
My God,
He is here.
He's always here. I told you it's going to come out. What we believe going to
All these atheists.
Watch this. Here is my question to them. I was joking, y'all, for those of y'all that listen. Listen, and I ain't even got to clean up. Everybody who knows me know what I mean.
My God, I know you, my God.
Everybody who knows me know what I mean.
Apostolic Pentecostal.
I always say I've been raised apostolic, so y'all know what I'm really saying. I'm just basically saying, here is my question to y'all as preachers and the pastors.
Yes.
Let me talk to
We
the
hate
pastors
it.
for a minute. Not about whether you hate it. Here is my question. If church doors never open again, that means you will not have an effective ministry then?
No, I'm not saying that.
That's
I'm
not
saying
what
it's
we
gonna-
said.
I'm saying it's
That's
going to
not
be a
what we
big
said.
challenge. I'm saying that if church doors never open up again, some churches are going to feel the pressure of not being able to comply to this type of demand.
Wow.
And they say, I'm not, it's like we say, I'm not graced to do it. I'm not graced to do this. Every ministry has a grace. I'm saying that it's going to be a real challenge for ministers and pastors to be honest and say, listen, I'm not graced for this. I don't know how to pastor like this.
Well, then they should be already checking their call then.
Because you can't, meaning the pastor-member relationship is such a detailed, intimate, close relationship, and I'm believing that if we don't find a way to come back together as a church, because my fear is not necessarily, because as long as we have in church, people won't come to church. I think the issue is, or the challenge is going to be leadership. Because churches are having a hard time finding leadership now.
Let me insert this real quick, Clay.
Folk will come to church. They'll
Hold
shout.
on, Clay, one second. Let's address this because they called
Folk-
in. I don't want. Let's address that right now.
But let me finish my thought.
that phone's gonna
People,
keep ringing.
I got you. People, we don't have a problem with people coming to church and shout and sing. We're having a hard time finding someone to come and be on the choir, or be on the usher board, or be a missionary. Like those areas are where I think we're going to suffer the most. Because people already having, meaning before this, we were already having a hard time having folks, to come to meetings, to come to Bible study, to show up for a deacon's meeting or show up for a missionary's meeting.
Guess what? To piggyback on what you said, it was just offered to me the other day by an elder to say, now that the Zoom is successful, Pastor, maybe we can go to Zoom instead of coming to the physical church on Bible class.
Now let me
dangerous.
say that.
I was
That is
paralyzed.
dangerous.
And let me two things real quick. The first thing is, y'all, we do not start the segment called Asking for a Friend, which is the call-in time, until 1:30. So the reason we're not answering your phone calls right now is because it's not 1:30. That's the first thing. All right, second thing is,
we don't start until 2.
2 o'clock.
2.
So when
Special
you
guest
call
today.
Jamal calls in.
Jamal called at 1:30.
So we let you all call in at 2 o'clock today. It's a little bit different. All right, but back to the topic. Basically, I just kind of, Brian, what was your last statement? Clearly.
Some of my elders don't.
So the Zoom thing.
They want to do Zoom.
Okay,
instead of coming to
so
the physical church.
Perfect. Okay, so let me ask you this: isn't it more, as a pastor, more considerate to honor a person's time and don't have them come out those doors every time and sometime do a Zoom?
No, I'm the pastor of the church. The Muslims are still requiring folk to come to the mosque.
So why did y'all go to 90-minute worship if y'all not trying to be considerate to the time?
I ain't never go to 90-minute
No,
worship.
we had churches to God lift up.
Some of those churches, that's the controversy.
I have church till he's gone.
Oh my! Yeah.
Sometimes it's gone before you open up.
You got 90 ready out there to clip.
I don't know what y'all doing out there.
And we packed.
Right,
And I know
yeah.
y'all packed. And we packed out offerings, and we're not suffering during this corona.
you're right.
God be the glory.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Fresh
right.
Start's doing well.
And that's
Fresh
my
Start's
concern.
doing really well.
And that's my concern because ultimately we're teaching people supposedly to be sacrificial in their time, in their talent, in their giving.
I just said the meeting.
Us telling people that we're going to make where is serving supposed to be convenient? Convenient sacrifice. It's not even a real thing. How? Right.
It's a paradox.
So be interesting.
Right. So,
There's no
right,
such
so,
thing as convenient
right, so
sacrifice.
the idea is that you stop your life in service to God for one reason.
I
because
am afraid
it's your reasonable
Clay
service.
Antoine Diet, we're going to get to the place where the pastor and the bishop, the apostle, the elder, whatever the senior grace is, will no longer have authority. The church will tell them, we don't want to have Sunday morning service but once a month. We don't want to have Bible class every Wednesday. We don't want the choir to say, we're going to get towards such a diverse culture where the senior gift won't even have authority. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't.
Well, I'm going to be honest. They already there. They ain't coming to afternoon service.
You're
They're going to the club.
You're right.
And y'all have adjusted to that and canceled a lot of afternoon service. You're going to have, okay, if church is based off people, you better learn to adjust to some of these people. I'm not saying change your motive. I'm not saying change what you stand on. Listen to what I'm saying.
You're saying
okay, so
the
here's
body of Christ
Clay, as a pastor,
should be governed by the people
that's not what
and
I'm
not the
saying.
Holy Spirit.
Listen to what I'm saying. If you're a pastor and you're having an afternoon service every Sunday afternoon at 4:30 and 5 people are showing up, why are you still having that service? They're blatantly telling you. If they're blatantly telling you we're not coming,
that's on them.
They're telling you I'm not coming.
That's on them. But you don't stop it.
So I'm not saying you adjust to it.
You do adjust to it.
Yes.
You make a logical adjustment that you don't like. There are adjustments I made to not have consecutive afternoon service.
But there's a difference between adjusting and adapting.
Yeah.
We're not adapting to them to create an environment for them.
adjusting.
We're making the adjustments.
I'm adjusting to manage my own frustration.
To address the context of the culture. And that's all I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you can do both. I think you can do both and still keep the sovereignty of God where it is.
Comfortable. We're going to let people change the dynamic.
No, I got you. And keep the sovereignty of God.
Well, comfortable worship is making weak believers.
I disagree.
That's why this generation can't stay saved more than 5 years.
That ain't really
our
why.
generation. We're
and
still
that's why.
That's not why.
That's why they're going to
We've
the club.
let down our standard for them.
That's why they in clubs.
That ain't true.
Right.
That ain't true.
The same thing
Our standard and being demonstrative and being ignorant to people's time are two different things. Because we came up in an era where if you didn't come to church, you were sinning. And that was demonstrative. And they beat us across the brow for not coming to afternoon service. That's a different dynamic.
Culture.
Were you sinning we weren't coming to afternoon service?
Not all the time. Sometimes, yes.
So they were right.
And still coming in church. And still coming.
Videos out there right now.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Videos being made in church right now.
I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question. We all grew up together. There were many times, and we supposed to have been in an afternoon service, we were somewhere swirling in the wind.
I said sometimes.
No, most of the time. 96%
Even
of
if
the
it was
time.
most. If I came to church, I was still trying to talk to girls inside the church.
When you had a flu. But you know
what was the difference?
But listen, when we was in church, that anointing came in and corrected us.
Absolutely.
That anointing came in and made us look to the wall. And, Twan, I seen you tucked in before, Twan.
I've seen it too.
Service.
Like this.
I'm not doing it tonight. You still do. I'm not saying you don't.
No, he don't need shout no more.
No, he does. He
most
get
people
still shout.
He still shout a minute.
He still shout.
I'm not going to disrespect Twan. I'm going to say what he
Listen. It's only one church. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say this for the Brian. I'm going to keep it 100.
Listen.
It's one church in Baltimore City that my feet get light often.
And where's that?
And that's Brian Martin's Freedom Church.
I
got to keep it 100.
That's what we do. It's the culture of the church.
I'm not
we are
lying.
He said,
everybody,
I wish you could look at Clay's face. You were so mad. You were so mad. I can't lie. You were so mad, yo, that I got oil on my life, yo. See, I haven't changed. I've been sanctified and
got oil to make people shout
20 years. See, you keep making that face. I didn't say I've not sinned in 20 years. I've been faithful to my convictions in 20 years.
You got oil to make people shout. Because all of us have come to freedom.
Everybody.
And the truth be,
what would it be outside?
And the truth be told,
Jesus.
A lot of folk come to freedom for that.
A lot of folk come to
breakthrough.
And I'm going to keep it 100.
That's the breakthrough lives.
I ain't going to lie.
We all the
wind swirls through there. Baby, your feet get light.
Yeah, that's a wind. We're a windy church.
A windy church. I like that. A windy church. We got 2 months before Dr. Jamal Bryant comes on
I
the
got
air.
a question for him.
Oh, Leroy's
It's been burning my soul all night long. I know you listening, Jamal. I know you with your staff right now walking around that big old office that you got. I know you sit at that big old table with the new birth symbol in the middle of it. Oh, I got a few questions for you.
Ooh, we Jamal Bryant.
All right, so people are commenting and they're saying that we're too loud talking over each other. It's hard to hear what we're saying.
All right, okay.
All right.
Who said it?
All right.
Who said it?
A few people said
A few
We
people.
get excited.
Hey, a few people.
Okay.
Just chill out. We getting it together.
We
We're really
together.
friends.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Our critical conversation is we're really
This how we
friends.
act
We
outside
act
of
like this all the
But
time.
people
gotta do better,
condemn
you're
the
right.
old school church, but the old school church, and even if what they did wasn't biblical, what they did wasn't correct or whatever, it produced results.
It did.
That generation, that teaching taught us how to hold to God. And that's why we're still here. And our children, because we're trying to give them what we didn't have, are struggling, trying to be. We're not even sure if our kids, not us here, but if our kids even saved. Their kids, most churches don't even have youth ministries anymore, right? So that old mentality, whatever you want to call it, it worked.
But Clay, it also put a manipulative behavior
Leroy,
upon us that have been infected by that we are trying to impose on a generation that rejects it, and they're not going to adhere to the principles because they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we've done several of the things that they've done. But it wasn't that exposure that they have right now.
Fearing the Lord.
Well said, Leroy.
I'm not saying nothing about fearing the Lord. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply trying to put in context the fact that there was a generation that we keep accusing and pointing our finger at, saying they're not saved, they're not living up to a place of faith, that they're challenged in their living a salvific life
into a great place. Is that a wrong thing? If someone manipulated you, influenced you,
it is wrong. I'm gonna tell you why it's wrong. Because if you manipulate me into anything, that means I don't really believe in myself, and what you're giving me is a false narrative.
Was Joe Jackson wrong?
Yeah, he was wrong for beating them kids. Like
was Maddie Moss Clark wrong?
She was wrong for throwing shoes at people in choir rehearsals.
Wait a minute, man, they're millionaires, man.
What that mean? Because you got money, you can be disrespectful.
I think when you developing somebody, you don't. I think mentors are not supposed to be in agreement.
And that's the problem, and that's why people got church hurt right there.
I don't believe in church hurt.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't believe in church hurt.
We validate when we do stuff to people and say, "Oh, that's the way we getting you to the right place."
It's 1:30, man.
You can't throw no shoe at somebody in choir rehearsal thinking it ain't gonna bother them.
Well.
Whether it worked or not, it's still wrong.
It's wrong?
Meaning this.
That's not wrong for somebody to throw a shoe at your head.
It's teaching discipline.
Man, y'all need to go see counselors.
But we also have to be very
careful. And that brand of discipline created one of the greatest gospel artists we've ever known. You know what I'm saying?
The greatest gospel artists in the world.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But to bring us back into context of where we need to be, because Pastor Jamal's going to call in, that I want to say this, that you cannot have manipulation and disguise it as spiritual accountability. So you have to be very careful on that slippery slope. All I'm simply suggesting is I'm not disagreeing with you that all of those mantles certainly play a part.
Yes.
But they cannot be in a place where the mantle supersedes the manifestation of what's in you that was given us by God. And so we have to be very careful that we don't mix up our spiritual responsibility and our social responsibility.
Right.
Because these still have to be human beings that have to be productive in society, that don't have to have the stigma of what we've put on
generation
them to try to put them in a particular
people who love
category.
God, and they became judges. They became doctors.
Throw a shoe at them now.
They became lawyers.
Throw a shoe at them now then.
Right. That's not what we're talking about.
Because parents have not made God a mandatory concept.
Because they're not effective to this generation. This generation was not brought up in our time. So you have to adjust.
And this generation believes in cyberbullying.
Hey, listen, gentlemen.
Which is not a
We have one of the greatest influencers, a mover and a shaker of our time. And I know we want to cut off our own conversation that we're having with each other, but we have Pastor Jamal Bryant is here with us today. He's about to join us in here live and in the audience studio. There he is. There he is. Look at those glasses. Look at him from the ATL, baby.
Black Pope.
Look at the Black Pope. Missionary Baptist Church.
That's the new Pope. The Pope.
Hold up. Let me just get this question out of the way quick before we go deep. Jamal, where are you right now? You in your office or you in your home?
I'm at the church.
I've never seen that office before. I've been in the office.
And you won't.
Is that a secret office that you didn't show me?
It's a private office.
I'm in quarantine.
That's your prayer room.
What's up, homie? What's up with you?
Man, I miss y'all.
Stop lying. You don't miss
Nice
I started thinking about chicken boxes. I miss y'all.
Oh, man. We having a good time, man. We happy that you on here with us today,
Thanks
Jay.
for calling in.
Man, I'm glad to be a part.
All right, man.
Burston, how goes it?
Man, it's going pretty well, man. I'm doing good, man.
Very
Hanging in
good.
there. Just trying to keep
Proud
these guys in line, man. Trying my best.
Jamal, we thank you for coming on. You our third podcast You're really a celebrity, and you know that's what you are. So we're going to keep it 100.
I'm just a servant, Brian.
All right,
there you go.
So that right there, that little false humility right there.
That's the Jamal we want right there.
That's the one I want.
There
All
it
right.
is.
So we're really proud that you came on. Leroy's going to start it off. We got a few questions we're going to ask you, but you our guy, and people don't understand that before you were Jamal Bryant, you were Jamal, and we don't know how to. Well, I know how to look at you in certain perspectives, but I just really appreciate that you came on. We didn't have to go through all your 1,000 secretaries to get you on and your security staff.
Right.
We just reached out to you, and we appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, bro.
I'm glad to be a part. Thank you.
Let's go.
Man, my
Leroy,
guy,
let's go.
man. We're so excited, ecstatic, elated that you would consent to come on here, man. And we got a few minutes. We just want to talk with you and rap with you. I was going to ask you one question first, but who introduced you to custom-made suits? But nevertheless,
You and Reggie Johnson. I give you all the credit. You and Reggie Johnson.
Well, I'm so glad you pick up that choker habit that Leroy has.
Yeah, that's the choker.
But not the choker.
Don't take that to Atlanta, Leroy.
Oh, yes.
Don't
He
take
has
it to
some
the-
others that he didn't pick up from me.
Don't
But
take that to
nevertheless,
Oh, my
nevertheless, man, listen, man, you're a great influencer. You about a great work, which you've always been a game changer, and we appreciate how you've been effective, and especially during this coronavirus, this COVID-19. We want to just simply start off by asking you, what is the church's role and responsibility during this COVID-19, this coronavirus?
I want to, first, I want to go back because I've been listening through the whole program. I want to go back to Burston's statement about you can't pastor through the internet, that you can just preach and teach. And I want to say to him that was the old model, and probably for the first time in history, I'm going to agree with Spence. Yeah,
There we go. There we go. There we go, J-Ball. I made history today.
No, really, the church is going to have to move forward because we're running behind on the rest of culture and rest of society. If you would consider Christmas before COVID-19, 83% of all Christmas gifts were bought online, not in a mall.
Wow.
Because culture is shifting in such a way, but the church is holding on to an old mandate that COVID-19, the CDC is saying there's no way we're going to get back in the church before Father's Day. So if it takes 30 days to make a habit and we out of church for 90 days, we're going to have to make some real adjustments.
So Jamal, I'm sorry, Pastor. So, meaning for a short period of time, I believe that we can do that. But
Yes.
you believe that we can have a pastor can have a long-standing connection to a member online. So for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, can pastor a person, mature them in the faith, having only an online relationship.
And I'm saying to you, I agree with you. If the only thing that we're doing is preaching and doing Bible study, then it's just sanctified Netflix.
There you go.
There's got to be something that gives us discipleship and accountability, or else the only thing, Burston, as preachers, we're going to do is count how many views, not how many transformations.
That's good.
So at some point, we got to put in it, what is the call to discipleship? And to what Brian said earlier, a relationship is inconvenience. If everything that we do has got to be for what it is that they like, then there is no sacrifice.
No, I'm sorry. That wasn't me. I said that. Brian don't think like that. But yeah.
All right. So for you, person, is that everything that we put out, think about it, that the people who missed your service Sunday or missed your show last Wednesday can now watch it on demand.
Wow.
So that there is no accountability to it. So what we are going to have to create is how do we make people accountable and responsible? For the very first time, my twin daughters in the 8th grade have got to go to school online. If they do not check in to say that they are present, if they don't turn in the homework, they are going to fail because there's accountability.
Yeah.
The teacher would rather have them in the classroom, but now under this standard, she's going to have to teach a different way. And I think that's the same responsibility of the church.
Yeah.
Jamal,
I agree.
you have documented 30,000 members at New Birth?
No, sir.
Okay. Can I have the proper number, please?
I'm going to say maybe about 5,000.
Okay. I think you're being humble, but how can you pastor virtually 5,000 people? That's what I'm saying. I think it can be done with me.
Here's the issue biblically, Brian, is that Jesus only pastored 12. He preached to 5,000. He pastored the 12 disciples and then told them to go make disciples. So my responsibility is to pour in, to impart, and to cast vision to my immediate team and for them to go forth and do it. There's no way in the world you can effectively pastor 12 from the model that Burson is saying of all 5,000 having your phone number, all 5,000 able to get you. You're not able to do that. But we've got to make disciples. What has to happen in this shift is that we've got to repent for pastors trying to be gods.
Wow.
Because we can't do everything.
Yeah.
And we've got to equip our people to be able to move forward and really take the weight.
So Jamal, let me ask you a question. So do you believe in this corona pandemic that if this goes on, hypothetically speaking, we don't want it to go on, let's just say, like you said, for the next 6 months, do you think you yourself and other pastors that you know, to speak for yourself, can be effective doing virtual church?
I think effective differently in what is our model. And so prior to the pandemic, you all would ask, how many did you see on Sunday? What did you raise? Whatever. Our questions now are going to have to shift outside of the Captain Caveman mentality. All of us come out of historic churches where what our fathers did in ministry, and I'm saying our apostolic fathers, spiritual fathers, or Burston, our biological fathers, what they did in ministry, throw the whole book away. None of that matters. Burston, Dyer, Bryant, your sons and daughters in ministry who plant churches will not get buildings, they'll get laptops. If AMC theaters are getting ready to file bankruptcy, and they've been a cornerstone of American culture, I'm saying to you, not even prophetically, but statistically, a third of our churches are not going to make it. That is the reality. Nothing is going to be able to do to sustain it, let me say, in the way that we have been doing church.
Yes.
If you would consider the AME convention is canceled for the summer. The Kojic youth meeting is canceled for the summer. Full gospel is canceled for the summer. The Olympics is canceled for the summer. Brian, you ain't having no holy convocation. We're going to have to recalibrate how it is that we do church and what is the litmus test of effectiveness.
So Jamal, let me ask you a question.
That's scary,
You've
brother.
always been progressive and pressing the envelope off the table, all your ministry. What have you learned about Jamal Bryant now in terms of his pastoral perspective that you didn't know you had in you based upon this pandemic?
You would have to do a whole different show. Okay. So, Brian, I had to make a shift. I've been here now for 15 months. I had to make a shift, Spence, that messed up my first 7 months of being here.
Wow.
Because in Baltimore, I pastored beneficiaries, and in Atlanta, I pastored benefactors. That's completely different.
Yeah.
So in Baltimore, I had to pastor people who were the recipients of benevolence. In Atlanta, I'm pastoring the people who are making it happen.
Yeah. Here we go. Now that's
so I had to raise what was my expectation of what it is I wanted to do. I'll give y'all an example.
Jesus.
So I said, Leroy, last year for Lent, I want to raise $40,000 to get people out of jail.
Right.
From Ash Wednesday to Easter. I'm thinking like I'm at Empowerment Temple.
Wow.
By my third week, I passed the 40,000.
Wow.
Right.
And raised 150,000.
A different demographic.
So my mind had to change. The other thing that had to shift, Brian, for me is this is the first time in my pastorate that I had to say to my members, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, because I'm used to pastoring young people.
Yeah.
Wow.
The critical difference, Leroy, for me in being a founder and being a successor at Empowerment, I was the visionary. At New Birth, I am the successor. That's two different things.
Absolutely.
Empowerment was 1,000% on my vision. New Birth is continuing another Negro's vision.
Wow.
So with that, you need buy-in, you need understanding, you got to know where the players are, and you got to submit yourself into a place of humility.
Now, Jamal, I think that the great thing you just said was you had to change your mentality for your geographical location.
Yes.
That's big because that's what I'm fussing about with my guys right here in Baltimore, that I'm fussing with these guys right here, my friends, that they are not progressive enough to now see that if we are stuck in this, change your mentality away from what you used to do and let's progress towards this virtual world and build another platform.
So I had to, I did a call earlier this week, Leroy, you'd appreciate it, with young Kojic preachers.
All right.
Because in the last 3 weeks, if you all can even conceptualize this, in the last 3 weeks spent, 7 Kojic bishops have died in 3 weeks.
Right.
In New York alone, 13 pastors have died. So this is the greatest hour of opportunity for young preachers to be able to get elevated where they would not have. The distinction is they are now going to grieving churches or to empty churches. So we're getting ready to now take over as church plants for institutions. So I got to do a think tank on my seniors, Spence, who go to my church, who don't know nothing about no Givelify, don't know no Cash App, ain't gonna do no text to give. So we got to figure out how do we send the deacons to these houses to go get it done. So what it is that you had to argue about a month ago, 3 weeks from now, people are going to be clamoring on what is your idea. Let me just throw this in the room for 3.5 preachers. Let me say in the room, if you can pull together, Brian, that this year ain't no pastor's anniversary. This year ain't no pastor's birthday.
You done paralyzed it.
This year ain't no celebration of the founder. If 6 million people have filed unemployment, if this is the greatest number of people who are without a job, it's going to be a hard sell coming back in June talking about what we're going to do for the bishop and the people on the pew trying to figure out how do I keep my car.
Travail, Jamal.
So what it is that we do in ministry is going to be radically different than how it is that we've gone before. And what nobody is addressing, since you all are pushing the envelope as thoughts, theologians, and thugs, is for the very first time, parishioners are going to see their pastor suffer. Those of us who live 1,000% in ministry, and Brian, Leroy, Jamal, ain't no more road. Ain't no more you flying out of town. You are 1,000% there, and you have to operate as in the posture of a servant, and nobody checking to say, "Hey, Brian, your daughter okay? Do you need something for her to be in college next semester?" Nobody is dealing with the fact, Leroy, that your kids are growing up. Is there anything I can do for them? The problem with being strong is people don't know how to handle you with a weak moment.
That's true.
Is that you give so much to other people that folk never think of when to pour into you. So you're going to deal with pastors dealing with depression, pastors dealing with suicidal thoughts, pastors thinking about quitting. And you saw in the last 2 years, if we've had 9 African-American pastors commit suicide, how many in the next 2 years?
Wow.
And these are not Spence pastors who didn't have nothing. These are bishops and apostles and overseers who now have got to readjust their entire life. Not because the body don't believe they anointed or second guessing their call, but because life is different now.
Jamal,
and this is our new norm.
So what do you suggest then? That what steps are we to start taking in order to move into the place where we need to be?
The smaller churches,
I think,
Jamal.
Leroy, this is going to be the very first time in the history of the black church. Leroy, when you called me, you said this is controversial. You said I can push the envelope, so I'm going to put a stamp on it.
Please push it.
This is the very first time in the history of the black church where black pastors will have to give themselves a pay decrease. And it ain't because of no fighting family. It ain't because the church done split, but because we're getting ready to see something completely different that we got no manual for. So everything that we have told our members to do, we got to do.
Wow.
And
Absolutely.
most of y'all at the table are already doing it. You got to have that second stream of income.
Yep.
You got to figure out how to invest.
Yep.
You got to know that you got to eat outside of the plate. And so these are critical things that we now are going to have to embrace, not in theory, but in reality.
But you know
Absolutely.
what, Pastor Jamal, those challenges are not for small churches, because that's us anyway.
Yeah, we already not making that much money.
Right,
in our
yeah,
church.
so probably.
Yeah, so the people who are going to be hit, Burston, is not small churches, is not mega churches, it's medium churches from 300 to 1,500.
Yep, there you go. Yep.
The churches from 300 to 1,500. So this past Sunday, I'm giving just in context, so Brian don't hit me in the eye. This Sunday, I saw 235,000 people online. The most amount of people I've ever preached to in my life. 235,000 people in Burston. I barely made budget. Now,
Right. That's
it'd
a
be
reality.
easy for me to pat myself on the back, and I'm dealing with volume.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
guy who doesn't have the brand, don't have the name, don't have the following, is going to say, do I really believe in seed time and harvest?
Right.
Do I really believe in the authenticity and the legitimacy of first fruit? Do I really believe that what you make happen for other people, God will make happen for you? This is going to be a test of the faith, not for the pew, but for the pulpit.
Wow.
The people in the pew already understand God in a tough season.
Yeah.
The people in the pulpit got to figure out, how do I move forward, because I can't pay the armor bearer? We're going to have to make the tough decisions that, Brian, nobody is talking about, that in this new normal, Spence, you ain't going to like it. I can't spend this much money in the music department because
you
of social
faster.
distancing. I only got 3 people. So I don't need 3 keyboardists and 2 drummers and a bass guitar and a tambourine. Give me one old lady that can sing wearing house slippers.
Right.
So we're going to have to make real hard decisions that we've never had to make before, but our reality and reflection of where it is that we are.
So you're saying Jonathan's job is in jeopardy?
So
Because Jordy came home like, wait a minute.
Nelson got to sell some little Debbie's on the corner.
Let me say this, because you just called his name out. Jonathan is not in jeopardy, and I want to say it because I know people in Baltimore. Y'all know people in
Yes,
Baltimore.
they
I know
will.
people in Rome.
Right.
When I came, Brian, to New Birth, I inherited a church with $30 million worth of debt. $30 million worth of debt. My church holds 8,500 people, chairs. I had 1,200 people. Jonathan Nelson came to me and said, Pastor, I know you ain't got it. I want to come help you rebuild.
Jesus.
Wow.
I know you
Love that
can't
guy, man.
pay me where it is that you are in this season, but I want to stick with you because you were with me in Baltimore. I'm saying that as an aside.
Love him.
Right.
Jonathan, as long as I'm eating, Jonathan going to be eating.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Because he stuck with me when I couldn't pay him.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
When it wasn't no stage.
That's
and
a
when you
lesson
find
right
that
there.
kind of loyalty,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what you got to stick with. And
That's
that's why
awesome.
I'm with you all on today. Because we were together in the trend. We laughed, joked, ha, whatever. No, you ain't have to go through nobody. But this is 25 years of friendship when it wasn't no New Birth. And the fact of the matter wasn't no empowerment temple, for God's sake.
No.
So even
No.
before that, and in this hour, you can't have amnesia. You're going to remember the people that stuck with you when you didn't have it.
Yeah. Amen.
Jamal, I got to ask you a question, brother. I got to ask it. A couple of months ago, you were on a podcast or Atlanta radio station, and you talked about you were depressed in Baltimore, and
Yes.
you had hit the ceiling, and you talked emphatically about many pastors are in jeopardy of being suicidal because they married the church. For me, at that moment when I watched that, I stood there flabbergasted because I had never seen you depressed before. I got to
Right.
share time with you in your personal space, cars, homes, your kids. And, you know, me and Leroy got to spend that time. I never seen you depressed. I wanted you to kind of help me out understand the depression you had there, and will that depression return to Atlanta? Because now we're dealing with a new epidemic. So is the depression going to translate?
Okay, so I want to take you back, and Brian, we've never discussed this out loud. One day, Brian Martin came to my house, unannounced, let me add, came to my house.
Right.
And he just preached in Atlanta. And he said to me, hey, man, I was just in Atlanta this weekend, and the guys told me you coming to Atlanta. I told them it wasn't true. That's the truth. Ain't no way in the world you're going to leave. And you're one of my closest friends, one of my brothers, I'm going to say, and didn't even know that I was fighting through this level of depression. From what you're saying, you didn't know it till you were on the radio. And there are a whole lot of us who live in public space who got to deal with private demons. So when I went through that depression, Brian, for 2 years, I didn't know how to articulate it because I was depressed, here's the catch, Spence, while being successful.
Wow.
I was depressed with a growing church. You understand? I was depressed while on the road.
Yeah.
So the stuff that my peers looked at as the things that you ought to be happy about and satisfied with, I still had a gaping void that this ain't it. But there is no, in case of emergency, break glass. How do you get frustrated, Brian, with something you started? How do you feel like drowning in something that you created? There is no space for it. But I had known for 2 years, and Leroy Brown, we always talk about arrogance and humility and all that. I knew for 2 years my season was up.
Wow.
And what happens when your assignment becomes a sentence?
Pastor,
I don't know what preacher needs to hear that.
That was good.
But when your assignment becomes a sentence and you're like, man, how do I get out of this? Is this where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah.
And for 2 years of my life, I was going through the motion because I began relying on talent and not anointing.
Jesus.
So you could wake me up 3 o'clock in the morning, I can talk. But I didn't feel the power of God the way that I knew I needed it. So I was Samson with my hand on the pillow, but nothing was moving. Wow. And I knew I was supposed to be at a different place, part of because of my own moral failures, because of my own ethical lapses, because of the shift in church culture. I felt like I was supposed to be in a different place, but I wasn't there. And everything that I was doing, I was kickboxing in quicksand. And nothing was taking place. Nothing was resonating. Nothing was connected. And then God opened that door, and I had such a peace. And I want to reiterate it for some young preacher, some entrepreneur. Brian, I was depressed with 3 million, and I'm happy with 30 million.
Wow.
Not in the money I've raised. I'm talking about debt.
Wow.
So the track that I was on in New Birth at Empowerment, I should have paid off the debt by 22. With 30 million, I'm going to need 10 years. But I know that God is going to give me the authority and the strength to do it. Sometimes your promotion is a more difficult assignment.
I have a twofold question for you, because you are a very public figure in the kingdom and outside the kingdom. Everyone knows Jamal Bryant, whether or not you've been in church or not. Number one, how do you handle, because you are a public person, how do you handle public criticism? And number two, like, I always want to know, like, does it bother you when you see memes and stuff like that on, online or see whatever?
Person, let me tell you this. I'm going to tell you this. God has not given me the grace to fail privately. Every failure I've had is public.
Yeah. Good.
And I fight with God about it. And he says, but you never complain that I always make your favor public. So you got to look at just what I got to go through.
It's tough.
Bursting in the average man's life. He would have had 2 nervous breakdowns, would be under a bridge with not Red Bull, but with Mad Dog. So look at it. Just the last month. In the last month, Burston, I go viral 3 times in a month.
Yeah.
So 30 days ago, I'm going viral. People mad because I allegedly said burning sage is witchcraft.
Oh,
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I said if you burn the sage to draw spirits out of your church, out of your house, under whose authority are you doing it?
Talk. That's right.
That's right.
I agree.
Whose power are you doing it?
Talk,
So that's 30 days ago. 2 weeks ago, Burson, I go viral again. I go viral again because the company gives me 1,000 COVID-19 tests.
Talk about it.
Right.
I go online and say, look, I need a partner. I need a hospital. I need a clinic to partner with me. I can find no hospital, find no clinic. I find a Black-owned laboratory that says, Dr. Bryant, we're going to partner with you. We're going to help you. It'll be $125, but their insurance will pay them back. I'm excited because, Burston, you can't get a COVID-19 test nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm helping a Black business.
Yeah.
It goes viral all over the country.
Right.
Pastor Bryant trying to take money from poor people.
Yep.
I'm trying to take money.
Right.
You understand? You understand?
Yeah.
I go viral last week. Some unknown, nondescript girl goes online and says she was watching the Clock Sister movie, and it reminded her of what happened when she used to go to Empowerment when she was 12, that Pastor Bryant was having an affair with an 18-year-old,
Oh, my goodness.
and the church had to fast for 21 days.
Wow.
And it goes viral all over the country. So does it bother me? It bothers me, but it doesn't impact me.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't impact me because I turn around from that and Hilton Hotel say to me, Pastor Bryant, I like what it is that you're doing in Atlanta. We want you to spearhead. We're going to open up 1 million hotel rooms for doctors and nurses.
Come on.
We want you to go do it. I don't work in the hospitality industry, but they come to me. Steve Harvey come to me last week and say, man, I see what it is that you're doing to feed the poor in Atlanta. Take this $5,000. 2 days after that, Anthony Hamilton calls, says, here's another $5,000. I want to help you to do it. Within 5 days, I collect $34,000. Now, they know it because my work is public.
Wow.
So can I fight with God? You know what I'm saying? Can I fight with God?
I can't lie.
When I am vilified in public and elevated in public at the same time.
Yes.
And so the only reason it bothers me is my daughters are now at a Googleable age. And so people never, when they say things and post things and repeat things, never consider that you are still human. Never consider that you have a family. And so those are the only things that bother me. But my good always outweighs the bad. But when you look at the roller coaster of my life, whenever it is that I go down, God always takes me up higher. And so I have a bipolar relationship with God. That sometimes we on good speaking terms, and sometimes I feel like He giving me the silent treatment.
So Jamal, let me ask a question that we are getting. Now, the name of our show is Thugs, Thinkers, Theologians, and that's for a reason, because we don't want people to believe that the show is just about the church, just about the church world. We want the thugs to come, the person who doesn't feel like they have a voice. There are some very direct questions that my homeboys from the other side, the thug side, are asking. They said, ask Jamal. They said, how does he pastor a church and he's still a single pastor in Atlanta?
Yes. Well, it's amazing. The largest denomination in the world is Catholicism, and the Pope is single.
But he don't look as good as you, though, Jamal.
He don't got glasses like
you, Jamal. The Pope ain't got no glasses like you, Jamal.
He ain't with no Balenciagas.
And you the Black Pope.
He got 3 billion people.
But you got 5,000.
And he along with my 5,000.
He don't have his car in Gucci either. His protectomobile.
So Jamal, are you gonna get married again? That's the question. Are you gonna get married again? Or are you gonna remarry? Are you going to get married again, or are you going to remarry?
That's what I was waiting for.
Hey, you fellas.
Housewives of Potomac. How you doing out there?
So let me say this. My parents have been married for 52 years.
Wow.
My grandparents were married for 64 years. I am the first person, Brian, in my family to go through a divorce. I'm the very first person in my family to have a child out of wedlock. I believe in family values. Yeah. One of the greatest obstacles I had in taking this church, New Birth, is they didn't want a single pastor. And I said to them, I can't get married for a church because I don't want to do a marriage for PR. I've got to do it for significance. So, no, I don't want to die alone. Yes, I want to be married. This quarantine has helped me to realize I don't want to live by myself.
Come on here.
And die with a mask and gloves on. I need somebody there. But I'm only going to get married when I feel like I'm at the right place and healthy place to be able to do it. And to that question, Brian, there are no follow-up questions.
Yes, sir.
Because I see you moving to the microphone.
You see him leaving, don't you?
From the car.
No. I don't want to get no trouble with you.
Leaving it right there.
No, we're going to leave it there. Just another question and I'm done with you. So do you have any heartfelt pain for these members of Empowerment Temple who are wandering around Baltimore without a shepherd? Hear me. There is nobody from Empowerment Temple that joined Leroy's church, Clay's church, or my church. They are saying Jamal Bryant is our leader. What spiritual or pastoral responsibility you have for the lost sheep that's in Baltimore saying our shepherd walked away from us?
The members of Empowerment Temple who are still not connected to a church or all the more not connected still to Empowerment Temple is evidence of my failure. Wow. Because that means, Brian, I pointed them to me and not to God. Wow. If their whole spiritual journey and lifeline is connected to me being there, then I failed as a spiritual leader. Wow. And so it weighs heavy on me. And part of my leaving was convicted by my dad, who said, that ain't your church. It's God's church. Yeah. And when you start taking ownership and possession as if it belongs to you, that's when you can get caught up in the entrapment of idolatry. And so I want to, on record, and I have not in any other form, I want to apologize to the members of Empowerment Temple who I've allowed to get spiritually connected to me. Wow. And not entrenched in God. There is a thing called soul ties that is not sexual. So you can have a soul tie with somebody who you are not sleeping with, but you have created an illegal bond and connection that stands in the place of God.
That?
I needed that word, Jamal.
He needed that word.
Great answer, brother.
Just spoke
to his spirit. Pastor Bryant, will you be willing to entertain perhaps a few callers? We just have a few minutes left with you, and we value this time.
3 callers, and then I got to get on another Zoom.
That's it.
That's it. So important. Jesus.
That's it.
Listen, killing me, man.
This is our. I'm asking for a friend portion right here. You just got a few minutes to ask a question to Pastor Bryant. If you don't lead with asking for a friend, we're going to hang up on you. Yeah, so start calling right now. We're not disrespecting you. We're not being rude. God. The man only has about a few more minutes left. And so we're thankful. We're thankful.
And you must be respectful.
You got to be respectful to Jamal.
All right, let's go with the first caller.
Come on, first call.
Asking for a friend. If you don't say asking for a friend when you first start talking, you will hear some music.
Is it there? They were just there a moment ago.
Are they there? Any callers there waiting on it?
Well,
all right. Well, then
Jamal, pause with this. Listen, I want your first response. You don't have time to pontificate. You don't have time to pause. Being who you are in the kingdom, because you're now international, what responsibility do you have to your local friends here in Baltimore who may be struggling, who may not know Steve Harvey, who may not know some of these millionaires, Anthony Hamilton? Do you say, okay, cut me a check, but I got 2 guys who just want to hand out bologna and cheese sandwiches on Hartford Road? Do you have responsibility to us? Because, we from Baltimore. When one make it, we all make it. When I came to New Birth, I said, I sit on the stage. I'm Brian Martin. You better go ask him. And I sat on the stage. I'm trying to ask what a responsibility you have for your homeboys, because everybody's not your homeboy in Baltimore. So don't think
absolutely.
Like that.
I have a responsibility to Spencer, operate in thug culture to hand over my connect.
There you go.
Thank you.
So the same plugs that I had in Baltimore, I should now be shifting over to you all. So you don't need my Atlanta connections.
Right.
You need my Baltimore connection. So the stuff that I could get done in Baltimore, I'm saying publicly on record, is at your disposal. Whatever you want, I'm gonna give it to you.
Thank you, brother.
Wow. We appreciate you.
All right,
brother.
Jamal, we
got
got one
first question.
caller.
We got a caller,
We got
man.
2 minutes.
We got 2
We got
minutes.
2 minutes.
We got
That's it.
Jillian asking for a friend. Are you there?
Yeah, Jillian, she live in Hillside.
All right, Jillian, asking for a friend. Can we hear you?
Hello.
Hi, come on, Jillian, come on.
I just want to say thank you for all you do. I'm asking for a friend. I'm a member of New Birth.
Yes.
And just keep up all the good work you're doing. And
Thank you.
all I can say is thank you. And I
bless you,
hope
Jillian.
this
Oh,
thing is
thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. And
Thank
my
you,
name is
Jillian.
Bishop Brian Martin in Baltimore, just in case you wanted to know the work I'm doing.
She's not
as well.
coming to Baltimore. Asking for a friend.
All right.
Jamal, gotta go. One more caller. Call in 1-855-493-6499. Thugs Thinkers Theologian. Asking for a friend. Are you there? All right. Well, we ain't got nobody, Jamal, but we got
Jamal,
a minute with us.
I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you.
I
man.
know. Love y'all.
This
I
is-
appreciate
this-
you. Thank y'all
this
for
is
letting me
big,
come
bro.
home.
My
Jamal,
homie.
Jamal, I got one more question for you. Go. I know you got to go. You close up your iPad. I know you got a group of people behind that camera. I know they're looking at you, telling you to wrap it up. So tell all them who we are. But Jamal, when the pandemic is over and
Yes.
the air is clean again and we can come out, I'm doing
Yes.
revivals for a discounted rate, brother. So I'm just letting you know. You ain't got to pay me a
He said
coin.
thanks for letting you know.
You got one call, Jamal. You got one call.
Let's do the last one. Asking for a friend.
asking for a friend.
Hey, what's your question?
My question is, when is Pastor going to bring back the
You
Tiger?
gotta wait a minute. You gotta turn your TV down.
You got to turn whatever your
speaker
device
down.
down. You got to turn it down.
Let me turn it off.
There you go. Now I
Ask
can hear you.
Pastor, when is he going to bring back the Tigers in the pool?
When he's going to bring back the tiger in the pool?
The Tigers in the pool in the background while he preaching.
Oh my God.
What are we talking
Have a
about?
great day.
God bless you.
Right.
Jamal.
God bless you.
Jamal.
Thanks for calling.
Don't worry
We
about
want to
it.
thank you,
It's
Pastor
all right.
Jamal Bryant, for coming on Thugs Thinkers
Hey,
Theologians.
Pastor, thank you, man.
Thank you, man.
We love you, brother.
My
Love
God.
y'all.
Appreciate you, man. Be
Appreciate you.
safe.
Thank
Be
you,
blessed, man.
Be safe out there.
See you soon,
Thank
bro.
you, brother. That was a phenomenal
That
time.
was amazing.
Man,
Wow.
his heart. I'm hoping you guys are going to take some clips. You know, he had a few moments on there where he was like, I've only said this here. So, yeah, so he's gone. So, man, brothers, that was amazing.
Hey, it was diplomatic for me, man. I think, Clay, out of all the juvenile questions I asked, the biggest question I really was blessed by was that there is a certain level where we cannot respond to the critics anymore.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
it was
that
an
was good.
appropriate question, especially for those plethora of pastors who packed out Atlanta when Jamal was installed, some of them being the same pastors that discouraged him, talked about him, and wounded him. It was amazing to me to see the room full of people who clowned him, but when he got to that stage, they honored him again, and he never responded. I thought it was a great question.
And I believe the world needs to model that. I think people are just so
Period.
sensitive now.
Yeah.
Where you know people get really and they respond to everything. And
Right.
and you know if it's online, you can't take it back. You know, and so I always wanted to ask Jamal that, like, how do you manage? You know, like he got memes about him, and just all that kind of stuff. The comments, man. Like how do you and your children? Like he said, his kids can Google now. So if you Google Daddy, you see a meme about whatever. And so I always wondered how does he manage that? And
He made it clear. He said he has a grace for the public.
Yeah,
God blessed him in the public.
yeah,
He had private struggles, but in the public, if you're graceful, you can handle it.
yeah.
But you got to learn how to weigh that, though.
You gotta
as well.
weigh it, yeah.
You got to learn how to balance, as they say, those two entities that happen in your life.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed how he spoke about the transformation that takes place demographically.
Yeah.
That I always say that it's different when you have a different type of audience.
Yeah.
We have a different type of persons. He also spoke
Y'all
to
gotta
the
stop
mental
over the church in the hood.
capacity There you go. Also spoke to the mental capacity that we have to endure during this season of coronavirus and COVID-19, that we have to really calculate and begin to strategize and position ourselves mentally and psychologically how we're going to deal with this, instead of just always, as you said, responding to every little thing, because somebody's going to criticize you whether you do or you don't.
And he cleaned up he cleaned up that charge for
the COVID,
because we were all misinformed to a certain level about him charging, and that just
got like 15 minutes, brother. But what I want to talk about a little bit, we talked about was when, because he left New Birth. Baltimore to go to New Birth. Like, so is it okay, or is it a real thing when someone says, "I outgrew your church diet, I outgrew freedom"?
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
So first of all, they're not.
How do you ever
not your members?
I think the one that birthed you.
That's where we getting it mixed up. They're not your members.
Then I think Antoine, I think we agree. You can outgrow a church. I just don't believe a pastor can outgrow a church. Now that's where me and Jamal differs, and I'll say this publicly, and he's probably still watching. I disagree with a pastor saying he hit his ceiling in something he birthed. When are you not Cam's dad, Corey's dad, Jabria's dad? When are you not the baby's dad?
I think those are two different dynamics.
Yeah,
so do you think you outgrown House of Judah?
I won't say it at this particular point.
But have you ever?
But I've had that feelings before. Well, I mean, you outgrew a New Day fellowship.
I outgrew a culture. I outgrew a culture that I created. I outgrew a culture that I created. I did. I didn't want to be known as a Jew for no church.
But wait a minute. Mount Hatton wasn't good enough.
Oh my God.
Who is? Let's take a call, man.
Here we go with the attacks.
We got to hit what he called.
Everybody want to attack my ministry.
They still going at it. It's a good little war.
Let's give the people something to say.
I just think I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I don't know.
You don't believe what, Clay?
Because I believe that the pastor's job is to equip members to serve. So how do you outgrow serving?
No.
So I don't think everybody outgrows.
That's not what we're saying.
It says that, right? That we're called to equip the saints.
I think there's certain graces that have leadership skills that particular leader can only take them to. As we've forestated in other conversations.
Being fed the wrong thing. I think we've changed our preaching narratives and our training. So everything's about me, my personal growth, me climbing the ladder of success, right? And I believe that godly success is how you serve others. It's not how you're being served. So when a person says, "I'll agree that church," meaning I'll agree the prestige, the service model doesn't feed me anymore, stuff like that. But really, if you're there for the right reasons, right, it's always somewhere to serve. There's always something to do.
Here's where we're getting caught up, and this is my argument a lot of times with the narrative or the way the church is, the way the church is right now. I'm having a problem with it because it's a mixture. It's the pastor, like Jamal said something very important. He said, "I must apologize to the ones who I directed to me and not to God." That was powerful. So if they're not your members, they just come to your church for a season, you have no right to feel any kind of way when they leave.
But they are your members.
No, they're not.
They are
only while they act under your shepherding. Only while they're under your shepherding.
I respect Jamal's diplomacy for making that apology, but I disagree with it. I've never heard Jamal preach people to him. I think the narrative was the mindset of the people who joined that church were looking for something that was beyond just church. This was the new place
we
to
can't
be.
Take we
can't say that.
Yeah, we can't say because he made a flat out statement.
He did make a statement.
We can't adjust with statement.
But we can disagree with it though.
Yeah, we can disagree. But his statement clear to the congregation of the people that left was, "I must apologize." So my point to us is we must take heed to some of that because it's happening in a lot of churches right now. They're going to churches for the pastor and not God. And then we getting confused when they leave. They was already confused when they came. And while they was there, they was mixed up. And then the narrative was changed because when they left, then you beat them up and dug them and talked all about them and talked bad about them. So at the end of the day, we got to stop treating church as if it's my church or it's no church. It's almost that's the mentality.
You have a church that you're responsible for as the pastor.
Until they leave.
You are the shepherd of that church.
You have souls entrusted under you.
Right.
I'm agreeing with that.
They are your members.
Yet at the same time, there has to be a place where we become susceptible to the transformation and the transitioning of God. Whatever God says, it's His bride, so it's not ours. So at any moment, He could shift us.
We got a call. These are people just
asking for a friend. Go ahead.
Asking for a friend. This is Desiree Rack.
Hey, Desiree.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, Desiree, how are you?
Hello.
Thanks for
Hi, what's up?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you.
First and foremost, I would like to say thank you for y'all doing this. I know Leroy died personally and Brian Martin personally. I wanted to say it's a lot of distraction in y'all spectrum where y'all are. Yeah. So it was really kind of taking a lot of people that were looking of what's going on. We couldn't really understand and hear y'all with a lot of distractions. Okay. However, I wanted to speak on what Jamal has spoke on about people going to the church for him. I've been at Empowerment Temple for 17 years since Jamal started. I visit Leroy's Diet Church. I visit Brian Martin's church often. And it wasn't that we were going for Jamal. I can only speak for me, and I haven't been to a church now to join because I grew up listening to his word. And it was his word that pierced my soul.
I love it.
Until another church can pierce my soul like that, it has nothing to do with Jamal. It has everything to do with what I learned from being there. So what he said when he said that we were going for Jamal and the apology, I accepted. But I even traveled to Atlanta to hear Jamal. So it's not that I can't get something from Leroy's Diet Church or Brian Martin, because I do when I sit in their church. I get the spirit.
Thank you.
When I'm there. However, it's hard to find a church, not even the church, because the church is in us. It's hard to go under someone if you're not feeling that spirit that pierces you, that makes you be a better person.
Your spiritual father.
Want to help others, want to do a whole lot of things.
Sis.
It's not just about the man.
Sis, we're going to let you go, but I'm going to say this to you. I agree with your statement that that's your pastor. The Bible says, my sheep know my voice, and a stranger they won't follow. If Jamal Bryant is your pastor and or your spiritual father, your mentor, Leroy Diet's theological pontificating, Brian Martin's exhortation will not quench your thirst. And that's what I want this generation to know. We have to stop being ashamed about acknowledging who our man of God is. I love the statement. I love the statement. I know when you come to, I got to see your face. I know when you come to Freedom, you enjoy yourself, you praise God. But if I'm not the one who God has assigned for your soul, it's never going to work. I appreciate you calling.
Okay with Desiree.
I'm okay
call. We
with
appreciate
that.
you
Come to church
next caller.
Come to church Sunday on
Thank you for calling, Desiree.
Zoom, Desiree.
You welcome.
All right, we got about 10 minutes left on the show.
We got one more?
We got one more call, and then we're done. Asking for a friend. You are online.
Okay. Hi, my name is Evangelist Gail Johnson from Texas, and I
Bless
just
you,
want
Texas.
to say, when you all was talking about Dr. Jamal Bryant, his statement about outgrowing a church, first of all, I believe that what God is doing is trying to change the mentality with this plague that is over our country, the mentality of the church. First of all, Dr. Jamal Bryant is a servant of God. Now, God assigned him to Empowerment Temple. When his assignment was over, see, it's God assigned him there, and then God had another assignment for him at New Birth. And so you all are, the young man, the pastor was saying he cannot outgrow a church. Well, that's just a play on words. You are taking what he said and taking it into a whole nother area, which is not right. I think you are attacking him. If you had have said that, say it while he's there.
No, we're saying it while we're on the phone.
Way of attacking.
No, evangelist. This is a 25-year friendship. We weren't attacking him. These are the conversations we've had in his living room. So this is not a narrative. Jamal Bryant's been our friend since we were 17, 16 years old. My name is Bishop Brian Martin. I am very close with Jamal. Pastor Leroy Bishop died, Pastor Claver and Burston. The reason why we brought Jamal on was because of our covenant connection. Now, while we do agree and respect your opinion, it's just my opinion that you can't. It's not a disrespect to him, and nor do I want to disrespect you. I'm just saying it's just in my opinion, and it might come from the traditional Pentecostal background I come from. I may need to detox myself from that. I may need to revisit and or rethink, can you outgrow a church? But I was always trained that the people were greater than the pastor.
And if God has called you to a people, then how do you tell that people, I have nothing else for you? Now, that's all I'm saying. But I definitely agree with what you're saying. But that's all. That's all. I appreciate you.
God is greater than the people.
Yes, ma'am. He is.
God is greater than the people. I come from a Pentecostal. I'm a part of the Pentecostal Assemblies of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a part of the Pentecostal Assemblies of the world, so I know where you're coming from.
Yes, ma'am.
But God is changing my mentality through this on a whole lot of stuff. And
Yes,
in
ma'am.
this season, God is showing us we can't get spirituality mixed up with religion because we're going to miss it. And if God has given you an assignment, and that assignment is over, for you to stay there would be a disservice for the people, and it would be a disservice for the place that he has for you to go. Like he told Abraham, he had to leave his kinsmen and go to the place that he has called him to. Abraham didn't even know where he was going, but he was obedient to God. But
Thank you, Evangelist. We don't want to cut you off, and we're not being rude.
God bless you all.
Love you, sis.
Bless you. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Thank you for your call. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right, next
You're
call.
talking good.
Next call.
Thank you. Bless you all.
God bless.
Caller, are you here?
Asking for a friend, y'all. We are thanking y'all for calling in. It is now about 6 or 7 minutes before the show actually ends. We are taking calls right now, but we're about to end and do our closeout. We want to say thank you again to Pastor Jamal Bryant, who is, let me address this because I seen a comment on our page.
Right.
People were saying something about we were jealous and that we were just making statements after he got off the phone. Let me address that clearly, and this is the thug side of this conversation. This is Antoine Spence. We are not jealous of nothing about Jamal Bryant.
At all.
That
We
is
don't
our
have to be.
guy. We don't have to put on for no. And I'm gonna say this clear: we don't put on for nobody. If I don't rock with you, I don't rock with you. And if you know us, that's how we get down. So for that man to come on this show and take time out of his day without a secretary having to confirm it, with us going straight to him, that's a friendship. You try to call his phone and see if you get through. Let's do that.
You heard the man
Hold on.
say.
He just said don't address and don't
You heard the man
respond.
say I went to his house without him. Like, it's just people are people. So I guess we just not.
Yeah.
God bless you. Thank you for tuning in.
They're going to believe what they want to believe.
Believe what you want to
And
believe.
say what they want to say. It's good.
We're in Baltimore.
Trust me,
Atlanta.
we're okay.
We're okay. Trust me.
We're okay.
Nobody miss no more.
I pray you are.
So we got 5 more minutes left, y'all.
pray you
So
are.
I'm hoping and praying you guys enjoyed the show.
Somebody on that phone? Who is
Got
it, man?
another call? We got 4 minutes. One more call. Asking for a friend. It's the last call of this segment. Asking for a friend. You're live.
What's up? This Ronald Huff. I just want to tell my big brothers I love them.
Oh, yeah.
Love you too,
Thank
boy.
brother.
Man, we love you
You know we
back.
love you, boy.
This little Ronald, man.
Yeah, we know it
Clay,
is.
what up?
Yeah, little Ronald Huff. Well, you a grown man now.
Grown
Stop calling you
man,
little
bro.
anything. Yeah.
But I love y'all, man.
Love
I
you
watched
too,
the
brother.
whole show. I don't even want to use the word, man. Don't listen to what people say, man. You know how y'all do. I've been rocking with y'all since y'all was little.
Yeah.
When I was little, I'm sorry.
Right.
And I looked up to y'all. Y'all always showed me love. I can still call y'all today.
That's right.
Yep.
Because, I tear Brian Martin phone up. And
I answer.
Like, look. And you do. You answer. Clay, Antoine, man, all y'all,
Family.
man. I love y'all. Keep doing what y'all doing.
Thank you,
Keep
brother.
doing it.
Appreciate
You know, one thing I want to say this, and I'm a go. I just want my heart. Clavern, Leroy, Antoine, Brian Martin. One out of the plethora of spirits that we've all can testify about being delivered from, out of whatever you want to label, there's one thing we have never had collectively, and that's the spirit of jealousy. We never sat back and hated on nobody. My brothers we are defenders of covenant. So we don't talk. So we wouldn't create no platform to disrespect somebody that ultimately is in a position to bless all of us. Yeah. Like how do you disrespect somebody who can ultimately help you? So I take offense to it, but I understand that these types of platforms come with criticism that they don't know, and it's going to be even more because we're going to go even deeper in controversy. So I really enjoy that because I live for that type of controversy. But to defend us separately, we're all different. We all see it different. We all have our own theological differences, but we ain't never drove around, sat in this town hating and, I can't stand him, because all of us are doing extremely well at the level that God has graced us to do. Yeah. All of us are doing well. All of us.
And it's been an amazing show.
And it's been an amazing
thank you for your response,
never
your
been
critique.
jealous of nobody.
We good with that. Trust me, we good. We all in here have enough tough skin to deal with it. This is not our first rodeo dealing with criticism nor ridicule.
Yeah, man,
and so we're not worrying about any of that. Trust me, we all good in here. We're still in a happy environment.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
We want to encourage you. Thank you for joining us on Thugs, Thinkers, and Theologians. It's been an awesome show. Been a great show. We thank Pastor Jamal Bryant for blessing us with his presence. And for all of you that have viewed,
And
we
New Birth.
shouting out to y'all, thank you.
And in the words of my brother Claver and Burston, these are the risks you take. Oh, these are the risks you take. Oh, when you open up a podcast and bring it to the nation, these are the risks you take. Oh,
God bless you.
Oh, me.
Oh, man.
God bless you.
Y'all have a great day.
Thugs,
today.
Thinkers, Theologians, Clay Burston, Antoine Spence, Brian Martin, Lee
Like the
Doc.
page. Like the page. Like
Go
the
to the
page.
web.
And the website. Yep.
ThugsThinkersTheologians.com. Go to the site. And we out.
There has to be a new way. I need help in these last days. He said, come closer to me, yeah. Come closer. Give me your hand and just follow me, yeah. I got rest for the weary and burdened. Sound good to me. So put your trust in me. Now it's a brand new day outside. I never knew all I had to do was lift my eyes to the hills. That's where my help coming from. Come closer to me, yeah. Give me your hand and just follow me, yeah. I got rest for the weary and burdened. So put your trust in me. Everybody say we've been making joy for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Put your hand in his hand. I just wait on it. I just wait on it. Come a little closer. He said, come closer to me. Come closer.